Hey everybody, welcome to our year in review. And for 2020, with me is Mr. Kevin Capewell, who is with Rawlco Radio, great representative there, and really excited to have you, Kevin, with us. Who you and I've done this 2 or 3 times now, where we've reviewed the year and talked about it. And so I just want to welcome you today.
Well, thanks for having me, Colin. I'm always excited to be a part of this, and it's always fun to take a look back and see what has happened over the past 12 months or so. And it's certainly been a very interesting year. 2020 certainly is one that will be remembered for many reasons. But when we start looking back at 2020, heading into the year. The SCSA was planning to make it a big year by celebrating your 25th anniversary. I know you had a lot of plans that you were very excited to roll out. So why don't we just start there and kind of take a walk back from where it was all starting at?
Yeah, it's exciting that, 25 years ago, the organization formed formally. The SCSA existed for a few years in a different form. It's more of a committee, but really formalized 25 years ago, and set up as a very small organization. Basically with the idea that we go out and tell people to, wear their hard hats and boots, and it has certainly grown and changed to bringing in programs and services to support the industry. And over the years, we've seen really huge impacts. So, with the leadership of our industry, who's really been driving us this whole time, it's been really cool. With our certificate of recognition program, our flagship program, it's really been effective, and again, we've had some opportunity to get it viewed by third parties, and because of that, of 25 years of experience here, we've learned and been learning how to deploy it, make it efficient, cost-effective in terms of a cost-effective manner delivery. We built great relationships with national organizations, and been able to put together years of data and other reports to continually make it better. And so, I think this last year it's been pretty cool to be able to work with the industry every day. Legislation changes slowly, of course, but good practices evolve over time. And so, I think that's probably one of the things that the industry can really be proud of.
Well, that's excellent. Well, and constantly the SCSA is always evolving and changing to reflect what's happening on the job sites and that sort of thing. And certainly a big curveball came your way in March with the arrival of COVID-19 on our doorsteps and our job sites and our homes and our workplaces. So, how did you guys change to deliver the services that you've been offering all along?
Well, I think initially, we had the same feelings and experiences that every other organization in the province and in the country felt. One day we were running fairly normally, our operations were running normally, and within a very short period of time, suddenly it wasn't. We saw businesses suddenly having to close. We did have to have many of our employees suddenly shift to have to work from home, and it was really, for us, when it hit everywhere, what really drove us and a lot, and for the rest of the year, was trying to be sure we were able to reach out, and that was the very first thing that our employees did. We reached out via social media, via regular media, of course, and we had advisors working from home, calling up employers saying, "Hey, we know that you're nervous and you're trying to figure out how to navigate this. How can we help?" Our industry, the construction industry, was deemed an essential industry, and so people continued to work and build homes and buildings and worked on other projects, and so everybody was focused on safety. Companies that weren't in touch with regularly, they weren't in touch with us regularly, were suddenly leaning in, looking for information. And so we put on some COVID-19 sessions for the commercial, industrial, residential sectors. Those were well attended. We had, I think in some of the initial meetings that we did with our industry partners were, in the several dozens, if not hundreds of people were attending, particularly those early days. And so, so the pivots to having webinars, we had protocol documents that we put together for the industry that from across the country we were getting calls for. And even when people were calling into 811, the operators were actually referring them back to our website and back to our protocol documents for materials to support their businesses. And and at the same time, we had companies who were kind of on the front lines, also sharing with us information on what they've been doing, and we've been able to take that and share that back again with other companies. So it was really a cool collaboration where we saw it wasn't just the SCSA sending stuff out to people or telling them where to find materials. It was very much the industry coming back and saying, hey, we've been learning these things on our sites. We've done some work. Maybe we could share this information with other people. It was really kind of neat to see that chunk of our business community really collaborate. The area that we had to do a major pivot in is a lot of people think of us as a training provider, an education provider in the area of safety, and we've done that. We've pretty much always done that traditionally in person. And while we had it in our strategic plan to be able to provide services to remote locations using tools like this, it was more of a long-term plan. And basically within a day, we said that long-term plan is now. And so in a really short period of time, our team really worked hard to stand up an instructor-led online training so people could participate from, obviously from the safety of their home or office, and still get the education they need, interact with the instructors, interact with one another in breakout groups, and using a platform like this. And so Kevin, that really gave us an opportunity to not just respond to the COVID crisis, but it also gave us an opportunity to reach out to people in communities that would typically have difficulty driving into one of our major centers to be in person for these courses. And for some folks, it would be a several hours worth of driving to be able to take a 1 or 2 day course, and really in something that would impede them from actually getting this work done. Obviously cost them more money, for take people off productive work. So to be able to provide this really gave, like I said, a new opportunity in a space that we hadn't been able to really get to before. So it was really an accelerant. And now today, I think this is going to be a regular part of our business. We still love the idea of eventually getting back to more of a blended environment where those who are far away, remote, are going to be able to beam in and get really good quality advice and service, as well as connecting with our advisors this way. As we navigate through this current crisis, but it also sets us up a bit for the future too. And the regular online webinars are still regularly and well attended. We do that on a weekly basis. We have toolbox talks that are on a weekly basis as well. And about once every month or 6 weeks, we've got really interesting speaker, which we get an opportunity to hear from or share kind of in a similar conversation like you and I are having. So there's lots going on. I could probably go on forever, but I'll cut it off there.
What you just shared with us there was, really a diversification of how you deliver your services and making it more inclusive to those that don't have the opportunity, or maybe there's some actual geographical barriers to them participating into the learning. But diversity and inclusiveness is something that's been very prominent for 2020 as well in society as a whole. But what did you do? What did the SCSA do to tackle those two topics?
Yeah, thanks. And I think this really fits in the broader conversation that we talk about, or we've had lots of conversations about with psychological safety, um, mental health, the things that contribute to or could detract from someone's productivity or introduce new risk in an organization. And so, um, if inclusion is handled badly, it can be a safety risk. If someone is not included, not feeling included, it can result in or can be demonstrated in things like harassment. We tend to see or organizations where they don't have a strong degree of inclusiveness will tend to have higher harassment rates. That's and that's a real thing that happens, bullying, harassment. Um, but if you're able to be really inclusive, you might find not just that goes down, but your opportunities go up because you just have a more engaged, perhaps more effective company. And so, a couple of things that we've been involved with. Certainly, um, we've had some seminars or webinars, sorry, that would touch on mental health or refer people to those, and some of our regional committees have hosted those. But also, and I myself personally, or others on our team have been on a series of panels. Did a great panel with actually one of our board members, the president of the Canadian Construction Association, and hosted by our own Saskatchewan Construction Association CEO, to have this conversation. So there's a great opportunity, and yeah, there's challenges if you don't do this well or handle it well. But there's also a really great opportunity to bring innovation into an organization, and that companies, if they figure out how to do this, may actually turn this into a really strong strategic advantage for themselves.
That's awesome. Well, and you said something very interesting right there too, innovation. And so, like you've stated that many of your members are very good at using advanced technologies, but the pandemic made computer use more urgent for others. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for and I don't want to stereotype, but we've got a lot of um, younger people who are just coming into the workforce, and they are very adept at using technology. We've got people who've been in the industry for quite some time, and they're very comfortable with using technology. And we have others who they're very skillful in what they do, but they're less comfortable with regular use of technology. And we've seen some of that when we were making the transition to classroom training and doing that online into an instructor led. And so the initial adoption, everyone's trying to figure out how to use Zoom and how do you click on this thing, and oh yeah, don't forget to unmute yourself, which seems to be the thing we all end up doing in this format. So that COVID kind of provided an accelerant for that, and um, so there's now today, I think, a greater openness for use of this because it's the way that you can survive in your business today. It's really difficult to not be connected in this way and still be productive. So we've talked about the use of analytics for some time. We actually had this is one of the areas that we really want to work in our strategic plan over the next few years. But again, we've been able to accelerate some of this, and the increased use of data analytics, gives the ability to make targeted improvements to safety programs, and as well as other areas of the operations. And we've got some better tools that are almost ready to roll out. I'll be talking about them probably towards the end. I'll kind of close off with some of that. But for an example, um, we've got information that historical injury information that we work with employers on, but they've also got information on training that they may have taken with us, or some of their audit results. And for a company to be able to kind of see when they stack that information, get a bit of a benchmark of where they're at, but also kind of know, where do I fit in the rest of the industry, and how do I compare to my peers generally. And having that information can really feed decision makers with good information. It kind of just takes, a stack of data and paper and gives you really a concise way to have some intelligence of what do I need to do next to make, improvements, not just to my safety plan, but probably going to have improvements to my overall operations. So, so those tools are being used more so today. We've got I think it gets into the quality of the audits that we do related to the core program, creates a different set of conversations
Mhm.
than we're used to. And we can also then in the future stack other information that a company may want to keep on itself and say, well, if I do a culture survey, just as an example, if we did a culture survey and I found, okay, what is my organization open to to stronger safety practices, or do we have the culture that says we really don't care?
Mhm.
and so, regardless of what the manual says on the wall for that you might hang on the wall about your company, knowing more about and understanding your own business culture is probably, when you tie those two together, make a really powerful tool. So, we're going to be using a lot more of that to improve the effectiveness of our core program and the courses and the quality of the audits that we do. And in addition to continuously growing some of the other bases of technology, as you know, we've had a mobile app for quite some time that we've built initially as a platform that just had information on um, uh, as a quick reference tool, essentially, for the OHS legislative guide. But we've got some things that we've been able to add to that in terms of additional content. We've been able to add a hazard assessment app, a tool within that app so you can fill out your own hazard assessment forms right on your phone or tablet or computer. If you're in a remote location, you can use the GPS from your phone within the app to identify where your nearest medical services are. And so you can kind of set up a plan when you're working on a site, particularly in a rural environment. You can find, where are the closest sites? Let's get a plan, and then you could plan your first aid response as well as know, hey, we're about 20 minutes from the nearest medical services if there's something that goes wrong and we need help. Um, and if you know that you're much further than half an hour or an hour, you need a different plan to deal with an immediate situation. So those are things that our members seem to appreciate. We're going to continue to do that, and so those things enrolled here in the last number of months earlier on in the year, and kind of excited to see people use that.
That's wonderful. Well, just in this brief amount of time, that's certainly a lot of things that you guys have been working on and handling quite adeptly. And so, that's quite some high praise when 811 is using your resources and directing
Yeah.
people to what you've put together just for the betterment of everyone. So certainly that takes a lot of time and energy and resources from your group. But, you also found some time to put together some awards and recognize some fine folks as well, didn't you?
This was all supposed to happen earlier in the spring. In March, April is when we were hoping to do these kind of recognition events and have what we call our SCSA Awards. And obviously, we had to pull that back a bit with COVID, because that was typically an in-person event, and so we repositioned that. And later in the fall, we were able to actually issue these awards, and it was really neat. We were able to recognize safety awards that were issued to companies, individuals, as well as as a new award that was kind of more of a discretionary award called President's Award. And it was neat because we did so much of it virtually. We had videos of people, talking about their experiences, and we were able to recognize them through social media. Actually got probably more eyes on this than we ever would have had we done it in a traditional format. And I did just a couple. Want to mention, like Lumina Safway won our corporate safety award just based on excellent use of their management system and analytical reporting. You heard me talk about analytics and the importance of it. We saw that announcement of this win travel really far. It actually showed up very much in the financial press.
Hmm.
Picked it up on the the news release that was sent out. Picked up by I think it was the Georgia Newswire. Picked up by the financial media sector. And it was really an indicator that the market believes that safe companies are more valuable. And then the Regina Bypass Partners won our President's Award, and it was certainly a big project. We had a great interview with Alistair Dickinson, who was the director on the project here in Regina initially, and really they showed through teamwork and really effective communication that they could coordinate a huge number of companies that were involved through millions of hours of safe work. And so their safety legacy to the province will be felt for years to come. There were so many learnings on it. Both of these stories are on our website. It's in our magazine, our Safety Advocate magazine, but even following us on LinkedIn, Twitter. You kind of name the whole bag of social media. There's references to those as well as individuals who've received awards.
It's certainly a long list of wonderful accomplishments, hard work, collaboration, teamwork, forward vision, forward thinking. It certainly makes these conversations at the end of the year always fun and interesting for me. But with what we're seeing, what are you seeing when you're looking forward for 2021?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, and maybe if I could just mention before even you're going to pivot to the future is just the fact over these last number of months, 8, 9, 10 months, my hats off to our team and our board of directors who stayed very solid on this.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on what's happening with the pandemic. We did have to make adjustments in the organization to try to deal with these things, and not these things didn't come easy. It was certainly through hard work and innovation, and seeing our team, different parts of our team get engaged and saying, hey, I may have an idea, maybe let's try this. That really kind of set us up. I think was looking forward into 2021. While we know it's going to continue to be challenging, we're going to continue to have a fairly strong reliance on technology and some of the tools that we could put in people's hands to make their work a little easier to do. One of the things I talked about the analytics tools that we could do to help guide companies, but we'll be seeing into the new year work with our advisors, starting to talk with companies about a dashboard that individual companies can utilize, and it's an analytics dashboard that breaks down some key things that will actually be good decision material for company owners. Doesn't matter if it's a two-person shop or you've got 100 or 200 employees. Every member will be able to have access to this, and so our advisors over the next into the new year and over the next several months into the year will be able to share that content. It breaks down what was typically done in a spreadsheet
Mhm.
of just numbers, and actually gives it some graphics and including pictures to help a company understand kind of where they're at benchmark to their peers, where they're benchmarked to the industry, and it gives them an opportunity to go, oh, if I could make some improvements in a couple areas, how would that impact the cost of my operations down the road? And so just the introduction of that, I think, for some companies will be a game changer. We've got some companies, I mentioned a couple of them earlier, that have made significant investments into areas of analytics, and they've been able to benefit from that. And so typically those were companies that would have you need to have a critical mass to be able to afford to do these things. And so you tended to see larger companies that we're able to make these significant investments to set these up. Well, be able to take that and to have the average size business owner, which tends to be smaller in Saskatchewan, to be able to have access to similar information that they can use for themselves. They can share with somebody else. They can have conversations in their business. They can have a couple of pages of information on a snapshot dashboard and say, hey, maybe we need to do something different. That's going to be a big one. The second one is something we actually ended up releasing during COVID. And it was really a hammering for time, but we're going to be reintroducing here in the new year in terms of promoting, because a lot of companies aren't fully aware yet. But it's the e-passport. I don't have a paper one here to show you, but when individuals come and take courses through us, typically they would get a sticker printed off, goes into a little booklet that individuals would carry along with them. And if they needed to demonstrate that, hey, they've taken a course, they've been trained in a particular area, they could present that sticker held in that little book. That book we called a passport. Well, we wanted to move that into an electronic environment so that people can use their mobile device, get the same information. It's up to date, it's real time, and they can share that for the same purposes. And if they needed to, they could pull off their own certificates. They can email them to an individual. Our business, there's a lot of subcontracting work that happens, and so the general contractor may want that information so they can keep a file of it. Hey, an individual showing up at work, they could say, yeah, I've taken my training in that. It's current and up to date. I can zip you my certificate right from my own phone or mobile device. So the intent is to try to make things a little bit easier for people to do that without having to handle now paper documents and having to come in to get it printed. You can be anywhere in the province and be able to access that at any time. So that watch for that. It is out, it's running, but I think with so many things going on around COVID and wanting to get lots of information out, it's easy to miss something because there are just so many things that are coming out. So excited to make that a little more prominent in the new year, because again, I think that's going to be a great benefit for individuals that they don't have to come into our offices, particularly if they're at a distance. They can have their information handy. If they lose their booklet, everything is online in that particular tool. So looking forward to see people do that. It's we're doing more work in having more self-serve, real-time information, and really intent is that I think having that gives people a better picture of safety and where that positions in their company, and how with maybe a few adjustments they can see some really good returns on it, and having the information to be able to help direct that a little bit more. So that's just a sampling of things that we're hoping to be able to support our industry with, and that people have been asking for, waiting for. And so we've really worked hard to not lose sight of those things, in spite of the fact that we've got all of these other challenges on how do we work remotely. And normally you and I would be doing this in the same room and laughing at the table, or laughing sitting around the table a bit. And, so we got to do things different. And so we have to have these little bubbles that are maybe a bit more distance, but staying connected like this, has just been a fantastic tool to support people through this time.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, it certainly sounds like there's lots to look forward to for 2021, that the SCSA continues to drive some innovation to make that information more accessible, more applicable, and real time to really help decision makers make good decisions that'll improve safety and their bottom line as well. So I can't wait to see what else is coming down the pike in 2021, and maybe soon we'll get to do this in person real soon. And thanks for letting me be a part of this.
Well, thank you, and again, I really I really appreciate you and the support that Rawlco has given to us on this, and certainly enjoy, and people tell me that they enjoy a lot of the conversations I have in our hot calls, and so that's gone well. And whether it's singing a little bit in the car when you're frustrated in traffic, or just being reminded to to take care when the weather changes, or paying attention to things like fall protection, and just particularly being aware of the hazards around us, and how with a few bits of information, applying a few things, we can make a significant change in what we do. And you know we've talked about this several times, and I know, Kevin, you hear us, that we do have the goal to try to create safest construction environment in Canada, and so yeah, it is, there are systems, there are audits, but it's really about changing the culture, and really about maybe shifting our attitudes, but at the same time bringing tools to make it easier to do these things,
Hmm.
kind of reduce some of those barriers. And as that happens, I think people respond more openly, and think, what, hey, I can do this better, easier. I can reach out, I can get training. My options are more open to being sure that I'm really well equipped as I step into the workplace. And so you guys have been just a great help, and you and your team in terms of getting that message out. So I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that, and happy to be working with you.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. Well, me too. Well, I guess we'll see you in the new year, and as you would always say, stay safe.
Stay safe.